Welcome to Fearless Females, where ambition meets resilience. Meet your guide, Lorie Jones, owner of Fearless Financial Advisors. Join her and remarkable women executives as they uncover the triumphs and transformative moments shaping extraordinary careers. Ready to be fearless? Let the journey begin.
Good morning, and thank you again for joining us here on Fearless Females. I am so appreciative of all you listeners out there. And don't think that I don't know that you're listening. Like, I get these status reports once a week, and then I delve into them, and I'm like, oh, they liked that episode. That was great. So if you subscribe, if you put comments on it, get us higher in the rankings so that more people can hear these stories, because they really are so important. So today we have an awesome guest, Janete. And I thought when I started this introduction, I was going to talk about this quote that she had. It's, "If I fail, I'll learn. If I succeed, I'll teach." I loved it so much. I've got it on my vision board. And I love that idea of, like, I'm either going to learn or I'm going to pass on what I have learned. And so I loved that. But as I was reading through the transcript, because I'm doing this just a little bit later than I recorded the podcast, I came upon a section where she talked about how she was introduced. And she said she would go in rooms and they would say, oh, this is my, she does my billing for me. And she said, then she was treated like an employee, because they introduced her like, oh, I couldn't live without her. They always said nice things, but they didn't introduce her highest title. And she said if she went to places and they introduced her as a business owner, the owner of a business, rather than somebody who does, my billing for me, then they treated her with a entirely different level of respect. And it got me thinking that, as women, especially those of us who are maybe a little bit further down the career path, like, we could start introducing using the best title, using the highest title or the most prestigious title, start introducing those around us using that so that they have that automatic credibility, rather than, hey, this is my administrative assistant. If they've got designations or licenses, like in my industry, that's what I have. So this is a financial advisor. This is my paraplanner or something along those lines. So you give them that credibility at the outset and introduce them by their best title. As I was going back and kind of looking through that, I thought, that is something that we could all do. So I hope you take something out of this conversation, and I really am looking forward to you hearing it. She honestly is just amazing. Like, the things that she's been through and the trials that she's had to face and the gumption and grit and just bravery that she's shown is amazing. She is truly fearless. So I hope you enjoy it. Let's get started. Good morning, Fearless Females. So today we have Janete Parente. She is a business owner and author of HB Medical Billing. And I'm excited to have a chat with you, Janete. I'm really excited to hear your story. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So my first question, I always love asking my authors this question because they are usually so well-read and have such good suggestions. And a lot of times I always find it interesting. I always think you're going to suggest your own book. And most of the time you don't. So what is your favorite book?
Yeah, I am like other authors. I would not suggest my own book. I actually listen to a lot of books. And then what I do, those that I like the most, I end up buying a hard copy so I can have it and then read it. So one of the books that I loved it, the title is Saving My Assassin. It's the story of a Romanian lawyer who was an outspoken defender of Christians and human rights in Romania under the communist regime. And at some point, she was faced with an assassination attempt, and the killer was sent by the government to silence her. Then she ended up moving to the United States. At the time, President Ronald Reagan gave her asylum to come to the United States, and then she continued practicing law. And then fast forward, she received this visit in her office, and then she recognized the man. The man was that man that one day tried to kill her, but now he's a converted Christian. And it's for some of us that believe in the power of faith, that is a beautiful story. So anyway, she faced then the killer, but she saved him. So because he became a Christian, and it's a real story. And when I read the book, she was still practicing law in the United States. I'm not sure if she still is, but her name is Virginia Prodan. I believe she's still a human rights attorney, but again, I'm not sure. But it's a beautiful story, beautiful, amazing, amazing story that since I read it, I gave as a gift. I told all my friends to buy it because it's amazing. It's amazing.
That sounds so interesting. And I love the idea of that kind of making the world a better place and learning forgiveness and finding kindness. It just, especially in the midst of my life doesn't usually include assassins or assassination attempts. And so I love the idea of kind of something bigger than you and kind of learning to deal and work with a situation that's bigger than yourself. So I love that. I think that's really great. I'll take a look at it.
Yeah, I love to read about other people's stories, and this is one of those amazing stories out there.
Yeah,
that I recommend to other people to get to know.
Tell me a little bit about your journey. How did you get started? It obviously wasn't in the United States.
Yes, so with this accent.
And where are you at today? Kind of, how did it take you along your path to where you are today?
Yeah, it's kind of a long story, so I'll try to make that short. So I was born and raised in southern Brazil. I'm one of 11, and I was born in poverty, and managed to go to college, finished my master's degree. I'm the only one in my family that attended college. And then eventually came to the United States, and here I could not use my degrees because I didn't speak the language. So I'm I have master MBA, and here I had to work as a babysitter and cleaning houses, and I worked at a car wash until I learned the language, and then eventually I got sick at some point during my journey, and I met a family of doctors that gave me an opportunity in their office, and then I went back to school. I learned medical billing, and then I eventually opened my business, and I have been in this field for 20 years. I have my own company, and the rest is history.
Well,
last year, I also then published a book, telling all this, my story, where I came from and where I am at.
I love that. So that's a pretty big path. Well, let's dive into it just a little bit. How were you the only one to go to college? Did you just work your way through school, or how did that work?
Well, since I was a teenager, I did not want to be poor. I thought that was not the life I wanted to have for the rest of my life. And I thought if I got educated, I could change. And then basically that's what I did. I worked really hard. I studied a lot. And in my book, I tell the story how I studied with some friends when they were getting prepared to go to college. And I studied with them so I would get prepared and pass the tests. And then I did. I passed the test. And then with no money, because my parents couldn't afford college. And I passed the test in Catholic university, which was really, really expensive. And I just had the desire to study, but no money. And it's rather a long story, but I was blessed to have a scholarship. that's how I finished college, through the scholarship. And then I got a job at Siemens Telecommunication, and then they paid for my master's degree.
Wow.
And it was really the journey was really difficult, not having money and just studying and just the faith. I had lots of faith, and that through my faith something good would happen in my life, and I could finish my degree, and I did. And the story is detailed in The Dirt Road.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And talk to me just a little bit about when you came to the United States. Like, how did you decide to come here? And you said you couldn't use any of your degrees because you couldn't speak the language. So what was that like, working somewhere where you knew you had much more potential, and yet you were working a pretty menial job for a while?
Yeah, so the reason I came to the United States was because I was working at Siemens Telecommunications, and I could not advance in my career unless I spoke English fluently or German. And I didn't know any of those. And I was devastated because I had learned everything about the department I was working. And because I didn't speak the language, I could not get that position. So at the time, a friend of mine was coming to the United States to reunite with her family. And I decided that I would quit my job. I would come to the United States for a year, learn the language, and then I would go back to Brazil. And then in my mind, that what I wanted. I want to go back to Brazil, get a job at a Volvo. I don't know why. I want to work at Volvo. And then I always told myself I'll never miss an opportunity because I don't speak that language. That was the goal. So I left everything behind, a good job, my family, friends, and I came with $600 in my pocket. And then the desire to learn the language and succeed in the country that I did not speak the language. At the beginning, I knew the struggles and what I would face because I didn't speak the language. But the desire was so intense that I didn't care that I had a master's degree and I was working at car wash. At the times, I would think, oh my God, I should go home. This is not a place for me. But then I would think, no, I'm here for a reason. I have a goal. I'm not a quitter. I'm not going to quit now. I have to speak this language. And that's what I did. And I did have an opportunity to go back when I was here about 6 or 7 months. I had a job offer in Brazil, but I didn't speak the language. And I did not want to go back. And then someone would ask me, can you write a letter? Can you make a phone call? And I couldn't do it. I didn't have the skills to do that. I said, no, I have to stay here. I needed to learn this language and then I'll go back. But you have a plan, and then God is like, yeah, sure. You have to go through my plan. So yeah. God certainly had something very different planned for me. And I've been in the United States for 26 years.
Mm-hmm. So, and you decided to stay here after that year was over?
Yeah. So when I was here about 6 months, then I got sick and I ended up having a surgery to remove an ovarian cyst. And then I met the doctor that did my surgery. I met him and his family. And then they took a chance on me. I don't know why, but they liked me, and then they wanted to help me. And then they gave me a job in their house because, again, I didn't speak English. But I was going to school and learning and trying to not speak Portuguese as much as I could. And they noticed that my English was better and I could work in their office. They gave me an opportunity to work in their office. And I started their front desk, and then I learned everything. And then I went to school, and then I wanted to do medical assistant. I wanted to become a medical assistant since I was at the office, working at the office. But I started, but when we started going to the lab and then taking blood and injections and things like that, I realized that was not for me. Like, no, this is not for me. And then I asked if I could change the program, if I could do medical bill instead. And then the college said, yes, you can. It was a short program. It was like 3 months program. And then that's what I did. I changed it and I learned the medical billing. And then at the same doctor, I started doing his billing. And then once I learned it, and I also have a friend who was working in the office, and she had her own billing company. So in my days office, I would work with her to learn it. And then fast forward, the same doctor had this daughter who was graduating in medical school. And I had the idea of starting my own business and doing medical billing. And so I asked her if she would be my first client, and she said yes. And that opened me a big opportunity. And then this doctors, they became like my family in the United States. They gave me a place to start in their office. And then the daughter, introduced me to a friend of hers. And that friend of hers then introduced me to other doctors. And that's how I grew the business. And that's what I have been doing on my own for 20 years.
Wow, that's crazy. That's really, it's a testament to hard work and luck, right?
Yeah. And I always believe in that. That comes from what my parents always taught me and my siblings, that if someone helps you, then you do something with that. You don't take that as a handout. You do something, you work hard, and you do better. And that's what happened to me. Someone gave me a hand, and I took that hand and I moved forward and I learned and I worked really hard. It was not easy. It was really, really a hard work, and it still is. I still work really hard to keep the business running, and I have employees, and so being a business owner is not easy. But you can relate it to that because you also is a business owner, and it's not easy.
Yeah, it's a hard road, but very fulfilling in a lot of ways.
Yes.
What is the best investment you've made in yourself? Can you think of something that you've invested in for you that you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I did that. I just wouldn't be where I'm at today without it.
Well, I believe that my best investment was to move to the United States. Because I know if I was in Brazil, I probably would be maybe working at Volvo, but I would be an employee other than employer, because I would probably just be satisfied of being an employee. And in the United States opened so many doors to me. And here it is the place of opportunity. You can be whatever you want as long as you work hard. And here you're not limited to your age, your gender, your creed, nothing like that. Like in Brazil, years ago, I don't know if it is now, but when I was in my 30s, I would be considered old already to get a job. I don't know how it is now, but I remember that at 35 or 37 was considered old already to start. And here I am, 54, and I am planning on doing something else, and I probably will be able to do it with nobody questioning me my age and why I'm doing. So I am blessed to be here and to have this opportunity.
Is there a lot of small businesses in Brazil? Do you know?
There are lots of my hometown now it's growing, and then it's lots of small businesses in there.
But it's just the opportunity to kind of be who you want to be is better here in the United States.
Yes, because here there is no limitation. You can, for example, it's something very, very simple. People from Brazil come here and then, like me, as an immigrant, and they go and clean houses and they make money, and it's good, right? They make a good living with that. In Brazil, you cannot do that. Like, they can come here and work in construction and they make a good living with that. In Brazil, they can do that, but it's not enough. It's a different culture, I would say.
That's interesting. I guess I've always heard that America is the land of opportunity. I mean, that's like what we're sold at for. It must be our slogan here. But it's interesting that it really does like play out, that you see that in someone's life. You see the opportunity. As long as you're willing to work hard, you take it.
Yeah, you have to be willing to work hard and make something for yourself. Now, if you want, there are, different kinds of immigrants. And I know because I am an immigrant and I am among of them. So I see those that come here and then they succeed and they work hard and they make something for themselves. But then there's some that come here just to take advantage. And then one thing that I can't stand it, and that's between my Brazilian friends, and I already told them I don't like it. If you come here, be grateful that you have an opportunity. Don't come here and then make your money and then go back and then badmouth the United States. Don't do it. Be grateful. I just don't like it. So I am grateful, and don't tell me otherwise.
Janet, what is the worst advice someone gave you? Have you ever had some really bad advice, and did you take the advice?
Well, I am not sure if that would be an advice or would it be like just I don't even know what the word is, but I'm gonna tell you the scenario. So okay. I was back when I just started. I was maybe my third or fourth year doing medical billing, and I had this clients that one day sat down with me and asked me this question, but it was not like a question in a way that would help me anyway. The question was, how many clients do you need and how much money do you need? And I was like, I did not understand that. What do you mean? How many clients? No, how many clients do you need? Like very angry at me. Because their idea was, if you get more clients, then you're not going to be doing my work. And why you need to make that much money if you are alone in the United States and you have no family here? Why you need money? Why you need that much money? And then I didn't have an answer. Like, I was upset about the questions. And then, looking back, I would have said, as many clients as I want, as many clients as I can handle, and I want to make as much money as I possibly can. And why should be their business? But their idea was that if you are working for somebody else, if you're taking more clients, then you may not be doing my work. Mm-hmm. So anyway, those clients are no longer my clients, but it was something that it was really interesting, and at the time was kind of hurtful, but now it doesn't mean anything anymore.
Mm-hmm. So they were kind of wanting you to put limits on it so that you could take good care of them, but your idea was more, the opportunities are kind of unlimited and I can still take good care of you.
Yeah, exactly. But it was, if they had worded that question differently, maybe I wouldn't take that as an insult, but for me it was an insult, not nothing positive from those two questions. Mm-hmm.
What about a situation where, with all that you've learned, you would go back and handle that situation differently? I know that I have these in my life where I'm like, oh gosh, if I could have a redo on this situation. And knowing what I know now, I can't go back and redo it not knowing anything. But knowing what I know now, I do it completely different. Is there something like that?
Well, I think that everything happens for a reason. And we can learn with everything that happens. And I think everything that happened in my life, even though some things were not really pleasant or not good, I learned something and then I became who I am. But one thing, if I could do something different, it was maybe to learn how to defend myself in certain situations. but that came because the way I was raised to in a loving family, and we had all kinds of problems, but one of the things that we could never do was to respond back to my parents. Never. So I learned that whatever my parents said was right. Even when I was a teenager, that I knew things a little better, and I knew whatever they're saying was not really right, but I couldn't talk back. I couldn't respond. I couldn't disagree. And looking back, if I had learned that in many situations later on in my life, I would have been able to defend myself, my ideas, my goals, my principles. And even to this day, it's really hard for me to answer certain things the way I want it. It's just because I never learned that when I was growing up. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it was kind of a cultural thing where you didn't talk back or...
Yes. Even to this day, I only have my mom alive, and if she says something that I don't agree, or my siblings don't agree, we never respond back. We just let it go because we don't want to hurt her, and that's how we were all raised.
So how did you learn how to combat that in your business? I assume you've learned to stand up for yourself and kind of use your voice. How did you go from not pushing back to pushing back? How did you learn that?
Actually, it's a work in process still, but I married a man that is very opinionated, and yeah, and he always told me, you have to stand up for yourself, and sometimes how he deals with things is totally different to how I deal, because we are from two different cultures also. He's American and I'm Brazilian, and I am more like a feeling person. I don't want to hurt anybody. I think that we have to live in peace no matter what, and I believe in forgiveness. And it's not that he doesn't believe in forgiveness, but he's more like direct to the point. And I learned a lot with him, and sometimes I don't agree the way he addresses things, but then I learned a little bit. I'm like, maybe I should address, maybe not like him, but in a way that I can get to the point. So I'm still learning, but it's still hard, still difficult.
Yeah, it is hard to, especially when you've been raised to kind of stand back and maybe let others think what they're going to think, so to speak. So it's a really, and especially as, some of my listeners are pretty young, it's hard to do when you're young too.
Yes. And I think when you're older already, then it's even harder because then you didn't came with that, through your struggles and even with good things that happened and you never learned it. Then it's really hard as you get older. I think in my case, that's how it is. And I think then some people take advantage of that because I am nice and I don't really let them know what exactly I want to say. And then that's hard. That's really hard sometimes.
Yeah, that's a valuable point, that sometimes you have to learn to speak up when you're young, like practice it even when you're young, or else those habits and the way that you react to certain things kind of gets ingrained in you. And then it's harder to break that cycle.
Yeah, I remember I had a class in high school. It was like a law class, I would say. And then the teacher taught us he would give a subject, and then we had one group that would defend that idea, whatever it was, and then another group would accuse, and then he would do the reverse. The one who defended would be the accuser, and vice versa. And that was fascinating to me because it was actually the first time I could defend something or accuse, for that matter. And that was, I started a little bit, but it was hard. It was hard.
Yeah. Learning those new skills really is hard sometimes if you've learned it one way. And it's, as you mentioned, it's still the way you have to practice it when you go home. You still have to, with certain people in your life, you still practice that, not speaking out or not saying things, but to learn that skill and practice it in your job, in your company, that takes a lot of guts and grit.
Yes, it's a challenge.
What about if you could go back and high five yourself for a really great financial decision throughout your journey? What would that be and why?
Well, financial was a struggle for me until I was 30 years old. Because I did not grow up with money. I did not learn how to save because, we didn't have any. And then when I started making money, I had to help my family financially. So I never had the money for myself until I was in my 20s. And then when I started making my own money, I did not learn how to save it. I didn't know how to save it. I had no idea. I had this idea, as long as you have for today, oh, I'm young, so tomorrow I'll make more money again. And then when I came to the United States, I was already 28 when I came. And then at 30 years old, a friend of mine introduced me to this one person that talked to me about IRA account, which I had no idea what IRA meant. But, she introduced me and he taught me, what was an IRA account. And then he told me, well, you can start with $50. And I'm like, okay, I'll start with $50. And then I started, and then little by little, I then went to 100 and 200. And so anyway, it was the best, maybe the best advice. That question you asked me before, I think that was the best advice that somebody gave me. It was to open that IRA account.
And just start little. I love that.
Yes.
That you learned that message. Like it's okay if it's just a little bit.
Yeah.
Do what you can do. It's better than nothing.
Yeah. And then at times it was really hard, that $100. Mm-hmm. But then it became a habit. And fast forward today, it's a big account.
Yeah. I love that. That's great. I wish there could be more people that heard about the magic of investing in IRAs and retirement investing and such as that. What scared you the most when you started out on your career? And does it still scare you today?
In general, I am not scared of anything. I have this saying with me. I'm not scared of the unknown. I like to try. And because if I was scared, I wouldn't be here. I would have stayed in Brazil. I would have just lost that opportunity and then be like that. So nothing scares me. I like to try. If I have another saying that I saw somewhere, and I keep on in front of my computer, that says, if I fail, I'll learn. If I succeed, I'll teach you. So I love that phrase, and that's how I am. I love to try, and if I fail, I always learn something. And if I succeed, I'm able to teach others. So that's how I go by.
I like that. If I fail, I'll learn. And if I succeed, I'll teach someone else.
Yes.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, that's a really great idea.
I even use that phrase in my book somewhere in there.
I like that. I'll have to put that up on my vision board here. I've got a little vision board that I put things on. So
yeah, I have in front of my computer that phrase.
Did you face any unique challenges because you were a woman along your journey?
Well, I want to think that being a woman did not prevent of doing anything, but I had certain situations which I'm going to give you the scenario. For example, I had the women clients in the past that never treated me as equal professional. For example, we were in an environment where other professionals were in there, and I was introduced as oh, this is Janet. She does my billing. I cannot live without her. She's the best. She's been doing my billing for all these years. Da, da, da. At that point, the water people heard, oh, this girl or this lady is an employee. That's what, without that one person saying, that's what the other people heard. Because, when you meet someone and then the very first impression that stays with you, that's what happened in so many scenarios with this particular women. That's how they introduced me to other people. And then during those meetings, no matter what I said, the other people didn't hear it because they were not listening to an employee of that other person.
I see.
Yeah. But then my clients' men never did that. My clients' men introduced me as, this is Janete or Janet. She does my billing and she runs her own billing company. See the difference?
Mm-hmm.
And then those professionals, they treat me equal. Oh, so you're a professional. And then they start talking to me. So what do you do? How's your business? How did you get here? How many employees do you have? How it is to do medical billing? But then I get this text message sometimes, regardless, men or women, that I wonder, would they ask if it was a man? Would they send that text message if it was a man? So again, I want to think that being a woman didn't change anything, but I have this scenario. So I don't know if the women to women was because there is a competition. I don't know. It's remained to be discovered.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think that maybe that's a good takeaway for women in general is like, make sure you're introducing somebody using their highest title or making them look the best that you can make them look, rather than bookkeeper. She owns her own bookkeeping business, rather than administrator. She's a senior administrator with 5 years experience or something along those lines. I think that's really valuable advice for women everywhere. Let's elevate each other by using our best experience and our best title. That's great.
Yeah, in these situations that I was in, that I just mentioned, it was really hard. Then I wanted to be part of that business group. I wanted to be able to learn something about, what those professionals were doing. And then I was like kind of left on the side because who is going to discuss a business with an employee that, has no experience of anything?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I like that. I think that's something really valuable to take away from this, is just that idea of elevating and helping them to put their best foot forward too, by introducing by their proper credentials or proper title. I like that. Janet, what's the thing you are the most proud of?
I am proud of employing Americans. When I look back at my life, knowing where I was born, walking 5 kilometers to go to school, not to have even proper clothing to go to school, and not even when I was at 1st to 4th grade, I didn't even have a briefcase or anything to put my books. I used a plastic bag to put my notebook and my pencils, and I didn't have shoes to go to school when it was during winter time. I didn't have a coat when it was cold. I didn't have a hat when it was cold. And then I went through all this journey, and I went to college, and then I came to the United States. This girl that came from nothing, and then being here and being able to employ Americans, people that were born here, that speak the language fluent, that have no accent, and then I am in charge of them. I am so proud of that. And I tell my husband all the time, my husband is American, and I tell him, I'm so proud that I employ Americans.
Yeah, that's really neat. So that you are able to give them a chance to live out their dreams too. But you have just you've really come far and really grown and accomplished.
Yes, yes, I'm very proud of it.
Any advice for a young lady who's kind of on her journey now, who's maybe at the beginning of this path that you're already so far down and so successful? Is there anything you'd tell her?
I think surround yourself with people that can lift you, that can help you to do whatever you want to do and then become good and not even good, great, and whatever you want to do in your profession. And then when you do well, help others also. Give a hand to someone that can also succeed.
Yeah, I love the idea of giving back, turning around and lifting those that are maybe on their way behind us. Thank you so much for all your time today and for sharing your story. And I do have your book on my bedside table, so it's in the mix. And I keep saying that, but I'm like reading things from, 2 months ago in the podcast. And so I'm getting my way through them.
No, take your time.
But thank you so much for sharing your experience with us. I really appreciated it. If I have a young lady who might be interested in asking more questions or kind of digging a little bit deeper, how does she get in touch with you?
The best way to contact me is just to send me an email. My email is office, the word office, at H as in Harry, B as in boy, medicalbilling.com.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much for your time today, Janete. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much for the opportunity so I could share my story, my little story. Thank you. Appreciate it.